Weed of the Week is just an annual weed, but for Darren and me, we have vivid memories of this particular weed. It is wild mustard. From when we were growing up, we used to have to go pull this weed.
Well, especially if you look at alfalfa or small grain crops, and we had both of those on our farm. If you saw some mustard out there, our dad's favorite thing was, I really don't want to spray the whole field, but you boys could go out and just hand pull them. That would be just fine.
And you know what? That method still works today. So if you want to go out and hand pull wild mustard, you certainly can.
They're annual weeds, so you can do that. You can get the root system and everything, no problem. You can kill the weed that way, but it is a lot of work, and they're small plants, and oftentimes a patch from the road looks like, oh, there's probably 10 or 12 weeds out there, and there might be 60.
And the problem with that is if you've got 60 weeds out there, heck, even if you have 10, you have lost a little bit of yield in that pocket, and it's easy for that weed to spread. So let's talk about control methods. We typically have the most issue with wild mustard in small grains. So with wheat especially, we have plenty of options now. We would suggest that you start with Sharpen pre-emerge. If you want to use Prepare, you certainly can. Prepare is not going to be as good. That's an ALS. Sharpen is a PPO, and it is excellent on wild mustard.
Post-emerge in wheat, this is where product selection becomes important, because wide match is not my first choice on this one because it has stinger in it, and stinger is actually labeled in the crop mustard. So if you're going to be using wide match and you say, I really need it for Canada thistle and kochia, that's fine, but if you've also got some mustard out there, tank mix in something like one of the affinity products that'll really help you, or you could just switch to Husky. That would be a better choice for wild mustard.
All right, when we get to corn, this isn't a real big problem, but our first choice pre-emerge would probably be Verdict. Post-emerge, I really like Status, but any of the HPPDs, especially when you put them along with just a little bit of atrazine, they're going to do a good job as well.
In soybeans are 3 pre-programmed with metribuzin in it, and one of the PPOs, either Valor or Authority, along with one of the yellows. That's an excellent program to start with. Post-emerge, if you've got one of the herbicide-tolerant crops like an Extend or an Enlist, you've got the dicamba or the 2,4-D options there. Of course, Roundup will work, Liberty will work, and then in conventional soybeans, you may use something like a Pursuit Flex Star combination that does pretty well.
Yep, so there are a lot of options. Many of these options, unfortunately, though, came out after Darren and I were kids, so we had to go pull this particular weed.
And they've come down in price too, Brian. They aren't as expensive as those things used to be back then.
Yep, that's a good point. All the herbicides are a lot cheaper today. Well, again, our Weed of the Week is wild mustard. That's it for this week's weed, but stay tuned. Iron Talk is coming up next.